Hey, this is Jill Ciminillo with Pickup Truck Plus SUV Talk, and in case you noticed, this is not a pickup truck. What it is the Aston Martin DBX, and this is the first time we've had the opportunity to cover this vehicle. So what I want to do in this video is I'm going to do a walk around of the insanely cool details that you'll find on this vehicle. I'm going to talk a little bit about the engine and the performance aspects, and then I'm going to give you some driving impressions and tell you what I like and what I don't like on this vehicle. And surprisingly, there are some quirks here. So stay tuned and yeah, let's get right to it. So let's check it out right now. All right, let's just jump into some of the details, and let's start with this paint because the sun is shining on this really well. This is a special custom paint, and it's called Q Crushed Glass Yellow, and yep, it actually has crushed glass in it. And at a previous program, I learned that when you put glass in a paint, yeah, it takes probably something like 300 or 350 hours for the paint to cure. I think that's absolutely insane. But this is a really nice paint job. I love the blacked out accents on here. The wheels look really good, and just, I don't know, this is just one of those paint colors that pop. I also want to point to, in terms of insane details, you come around to the front and you have this handmade Aston Martin blacked out logo. Everything there is done by hand, from the paint to putting it together, and there's some really good texture on here. I think it looks pretty amazing. So let's pop inside now to check out the interior, which is also custom. And yeah, you know what? I want to talk about this for a second before we go inside, because this is going to be one of the things that I don't like on the Aston Martin DBX. A lot of vehicles, like if you have one of these door handles, you press it and then the handle pops out. But this, you have to like do a weird thing right there, and it's almost a two-handed operation, and I don't really like that at all. So the interior here, you have some suede material in the seats. You have the yellow stitching. You've got this really attractive Aston Martin logo here. And, I love the theme with the yellow kind of going all around on the dash and, the doors and everything. So I think this really works pretty well. Now, here's another thing that I don't like. This is going to be a previous generation. Let me turn this on. I had the wheel turned because of photos for the exterior. But this is going to be a previous generation Mercedes infotainment system. And what that means is, yeah, you have a dial. This is not a touchscreen. And I have to tell you, it's really annoying that this is not a touchscreen. I kept wanting to use the screen to get through anything. And yeah, you've got to come to your home button and then, use your dials. You've got your back button there. And so it's just like going through a whole bunch of button pushes, and I didn't like it. Now, the graphics don't bother me. They're a little bit outdated, but I think they look kind of minimalist and elegant, so that's not one of the things that I don't like. But the system itself, I just wish it were touchscreen and a little bit more intuitive. I do like the fact that you have buttons for your HVAC controls, and oh, that's capacitive. Interesting. So you do have some buttons, but then you have the capacitive things right here for your cooled seats or your heated seats. Oh, and you can have your heated and cooled seats on at the same time. That's interesting. We saw that in the Porsche Taycan as well. I still don't understand why you'd want them both on at the same time, but that's just me. I'm more of a heated seat girl, but we'll turn it off because we're in California. It's warm today. But yeah, so I will say one of the things that kind of keeps tripping me up, because I haven't been in this vehicle for very long, is the fact that you've got your push button gearing here, which essentially doesn't really bother me, but it's just something that you get used to. And because a lot of vehicles these days have dial shifters, and I literally just got out of one that had one, I keep, instead of hitting this for the gear, I keep going like this and expecting to put it into drive or park or something, and yeah, that's not what happens. So you also have a full digital display back here, and I like the detail here. You know, it's not just a plain black. I think that looks really good with the texture, and then you have your display. Now, going into details and materials, can you hear that? That is real metal, and it feels really good in your hands, and you can see it goes like really long, so no matter where you're holding the steering wheel, you can hit the paddle shifter when you're using it. I played around with them a little bit. I think they work really well. One other thing that I will note is, like, if you start to use the paddle shifters, then this automatically goes into manual mode. And if you want to get it back into regular drive mode, you want to, sick of using the paddle shifters, then you press and hold both of these together, and then it goes back into the regular drive mode. I do want to point out everything here is custom. So the steering wheel does have some ultra suede on it, and I'll tell you, this is not my favorite thing. I don't like for me, it's kind of like nails on a chalkboard. But the good news is, if I were buying this vehicle, I wouldn't have to have this. So I don't know. They do this a lot in sports cars, because if your hands are sweating and you're driving fast, you want to hold on to this really well. But I'm not a fan of that at all. Okay, so in the back seat, I will point out you do have some ambient lighting here, and I didn't really notice ambient lighting in the front. Now, granted, it's daylight, so that's hard to see, but I love the fact that they've carried the stitching through to the back seat. You know, you've got the suede inserts here, and I think everything looks pretty good. You do have a little pull down here with some cup holders. So this is probably one of my favorite things back here, because you've got HVAC controls where you can control your temperature, your fan speed, and then you have heated and cooled seats. It looks like you can also lock and unlock your doors from back here. I like that as well. So maybe you don't want to put young children back here, because they could lock you out. Actually, you probably don't want to put teenagers back here either, because they could really lock you out. But the other thing I want to point out is you have air vents here, but you also have air vents here. That is really nice. So you have air vents from two different locations. And okay, yeah, you're probably noticing the phenomenal amount of legroom here, but I will point out, this is my driving position, so I'm sitting behind me. Normal legroom is probably gonna be more like this right here, which you still have a decent amount of legroom and footroom. So I was talking to somebody outside and pointed out that this is probably not a vehicle for a young family. We'll do another little look at the details here. So this is probably not a vehicle for a young family, because there isn't a lot of cargo room, and yeah, like once your kids are in car seats, I don't know how well they would fit back here. So I'm thinking this is more of a booster seat to teenage family-sized vehicle. Strollers aren't really going to fit well in the back, and there's just some other things going on that probably not ideal for a younger family. So I've been calling this more of a lifted sedan, because it has a little more passenger and cargo volume, but not a lot, and then it drives like a sports car. So yeah, that's just a quick look at some of the details in the interior and exterior of the Aston Martin DBX. While I'm sitting in the back seat in the shade, I figured it would be a good opportunity to take a look at the sticker sheet. So this is the standard equipment that you have on this vehicle. And again, so you have, they're calling it frosted glass yellow. Sorry, I think I said Q crushed glass yellow. It's frosted glass yellow with an onyx black interior. And you look at your comfort and convenience items, so there's a lot of stuff here. 360-degree camera, I really love that. Apple CarPlay, also very important, but this is probably what you want to see. So the suggested retail price is $185,000, and then you add all of these extra things, from the black brake calipers, the ventilated seats. Why aren't ventilated seats standard on this? I don't know. The paint is special. That's a $10,000 option. The black grille, you know, again, all of this stuff is special and optional for the as-tested price of $229,286. Woo! Yeah, that's a lot. And you knew you could put options on a vehicle that's basically the cost of another vehicle. So, all right, let's get into some driving impressions and a little bit more of what I like and don't like on this vehicle. Now, one of the best things about the Aston Martin is going to be how it drives. I think that is singularly the best thing about this vehicle. It is fast and smooth and peppy, and the sound of the engine, especially when you put it in Sport Plus mode, is pretty phenomenal. I love how it handles the curves. It's really comfortable and competent on the highway. Yeah, and I had to totally follow in line with traffic because I did not want to be the yellow car zooming past everybody and getting a speeding ticket. So I was not the fastest car out there, though I could have been, because this is pretty phenomenal. In terms of some of the quirks that I noticed, I have to tell you, I've only been behind the wheel for about a half an hour, but I couldn't figure out how to turn the cruise control on, which is why I had to fall in line with traffic. I did manage to set the speed limiter a couple of times, and yeah, you don't want to set it at 45 when you're actually traveling 75 on a highway, because then all of a sudden it pulls you back. So figured that out, did not figure out the cruise control. Also, don't like the fact that this is an Aston Martin, so $225,000 vehicle, and it has automatic stop start. Does anybody who buys an Aston Martin really want that feature? I think that's annoying, and I think it's stupid, and I don't think it should be on this vehicle. I also am not too much of a fan of the infotainment system. I didn't like the Mercedes-ness of it, and I really don't like the touch controller. Just want a touch screen. I love the textures, I love the materials, I love how this drives, I love how it fits me, I love the comfort of the seats. They're a little bit stiff and sporty, but they are not too stiff and sporty, and I don't know, I love how this car looks. I'm super excited to be behind the wheel, and I think everything about this is pretty phenomenal. So if I had to sum this up in a sentence, I would say this is a performance-oriented vehicle that isn't going to fit a lot of people or stuff, and if you're looking for a fun time, this is it. But if you're looking for a true family car that fits people and stuff, you might have to head over to Porsche for that one. You can't drive an Aston Martin without talking at least a little bit about the engine, and this is a 4.0 liter twin-turbo V8 engine that is hand-built in Great Britain, and yeah, the final inspection was done by Tom Phillips. So this engine delivers 542 horsepower and 516 pound-feet of torque, and that means it has a 0 to 60 mile per hour time of 4.3 seconds. Of course, the trade-off there is going to be fuel economy, because you are looking at 14 miles per gallon in the city, 20 miles per gallon on the highway, and 16 miles per gallon in combined driving. But yeah, this engine is pretty, and it drives really well too. I'd say that has to be my most favorite thing about the Aston Martin DBX. So the top three things that I like on the Aston Martin DBX are going to be the performance, the materials, and the overall look. The top three things that I don't like on this vehicle are going to be the infotainment system, the way the door handles work, and the cup holders. All right, that is all I have on the Aston Martin DBX, but I want you to tell me, one, what you think of this paint color, and two, what's your favorite thing about this vehicle? I love the performance, I hate the door handles. Let me know what you think. All right, so be sure to follow us on the web at pickuptrucktalk.com, and you can follow us on Instagram and Twitter at pickuptrucktalk. So thanks for watching, and I will see you down the road.